Welcome, powerful souls. Today, I want to share a series of synchronicities that happened around the Fleetwood Mac song Rhiannon. My name is Laurie Majka, and I want to help awaken you to the power of your soul. And one of the ways I do that is by sharing these synchronicities that I have that help you to maybe see the own synchronicities in your life. This story happened several years ago, and it was all because I had put in a brand new air conditioner and the pan leaked water all over the ceiling, causing a bunch of water damage, and the company sent somebody in to repair it. So when this man got here, he was really, really chatty and shared all these details about his life, like super amounts of detail, like that where he had lived, where he was from, what his kids did, what type of business that he had built, even like what he had spent on his house, like all these crazy things. He was a really, really nice person, and I had a good time learning about him and talking to him. Well, about halfway through the project on the first day, we were going to need some paint for the ceiling, and I had asked if I could go and get this paint myself. And so he gave me some money, and I went to go get in my car. I opened the garage door, and at the same time, he walked out to his car, and I had just purchased this brand new green Jeep Wrangler, and nobody had really seen this color before. And he got all excited and came over to look at my brand new Jeep. And when he did, and he walked into my garage, I have one and only one poster in my entire garage, and it is a picture of the band Fleetwood Mac, one of my all-time favorite bands that one of my girlfriends had given me. And I just have it in my garage because I think it's just kind of fun to pull into my parking spot and see my favorite band. So he looked at that picture and he was like, "Hey, so do you like Fleetwood Mac?" And I was like, "Yeah, I really, really love them. As a matter of fact, back in 1998, I went to go see Fleetwood Mac in concert. And that night, I wound up conceiving my daughter. And I seriously thought about naming her Rhiannon because we had my son Ryan, we had our dog Rocket, we wanted another R name, and Rhiannon would have been a good choice, but my husband shot it down because it would have been very confusing. Every time you say it, people are like, "What? What did you say?" It wasn't a common name, and I don't even know anybody that's ever had the name Rhiannon from that song Fleetwood Mac. But anyway, that was my connection to the band, and I explained all this to him, and he said, "Well, I used to be Stevie Nicks' personal bodyguard for 8 years." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" This man had told me all these details about all these things in his life, and he left out the most exciting thing about himself is that he traveled with my favorite band for like 8 years. And he was like, "Yeah, I knew Stevie Nicks really well. I know everybody in her family. She was, with Don Henley, and I got to meet him." And he was just telling me all these stories and how over those years, he had been given many, many pieces of memorabilia from the band. And since I told him my story about the song Rhiannon and loving that and almost naming my daughter that, he said, "Did you know that Stevie Nicks actually painted?" And I was like, I had no idea. I knew she was an artist, but he said she did this beautiful picture of Rhiannon. And he said, "I used to have a couple of those prints from that picture that she made." And I was like, "Oh, that's really, really cool." So anyway, I went on with my day, and then the next day he had to come back to finish the job. So when I got up that morning to hike, I started my car, and immediately the song Rhiannon was playing on the radio. And as soon as that happened, I got what I call a download. Now, a download for me is just this piece of information. It could be a small piece of information, it could be a really large piece of information, but it's a piece of information that comes into me, and it's almost like a knowing. I can't explain how it feels other than it feels like it already happened. And they always come true, they're always correct. And I had this deep knowing that this man was going to come back to my house to finish the job today, and he was going to bring me one of the prints from that painting Rhiannon that he had mentioned the day before. I hike, I come home, and then I'm on a bunch of work calls, and he's working autonomously in the room by himself. About noon, he asks me if I have a few minutes to talk to him, which I do. He said, I brought something for you. And behind his back, he pulls out a rolled up tube, and inside of it is a numbered print from Stevie Nicks' artwork, Rhiannon. And I had to act very surprised because I had already been given that information earlier today that this was going to happen. But even when it really did happen, I was actually really surprised, even though I had had that knowing from earlier in the day. When it really happens, there's something that just is almost like puts me in this state of awe. Like I couldn't believe that it had happened, but also I was so grateful. And he said, I only have one requirement. I'm asking that if I give this to you, that you promise that you will have it framed and you will hang it up somewhere in your house. And I said, absolutely, of course I will. It's in my bedroom today and I love it. But more synchronicities happened immediately after that. Later on that afternoon, I was going to meet friends to go to a Bob Seger concert. I got in the car. I was talking to my sister on the phone. I told her the whole story. And as soon as I hung up the phone, the song Rhiannon was playing on the radio, which was just crazy. So I get in the car with my friends. We're driving to the concert venue, and I tell my friends this whole incredible story about Rhiannon and what had happened that day. They purchased this parking pass in a parking garage, and it took us a long time because of the construction to find this particular parking garage. We circled several times. We finally park, and then I'm sitting there and I realize I can't find my phone anywhere. It's gone. I had it at dinner and now I don't have it. And unfortunately, all of the tickets are electronic, but luckily this was several years ago before you had all this double authentication. And I was able to use my friend's phone to pull up my ticket through my email, but this took maybe 10 or 15 minutes sitting in this parking garage to do. So we get out of the parking garage and now we're walking to the concert venue. And as we walk by the bar, the song Rhiannon is playing through their outside patio. And my friends looked at me and I looked at them and we were just like stunned. But think about all of the things that had to happen for the timing to be perfect to walk by at the moment that that song was playing. Like we couldn't find the parking garage. My phone was lost and it took us a while to pull that ticket up on my friend's phone. And that's how signs and synchronicities work. They'll happen not only in a way that gets your attention, but sometimes they'll be connected to other things. And it was like the universe showering me with these little gifts of getting something so special that had so much meaning to me. And I did absolutely get that picture framed. It hangs in my bedroom today and I just love it. And I love telling that story because it was just such a cool set of synchronicities that all happened in one day. So that's how these work for me. I would love for you to share your stories of synchronicities down in the comments because when people read these, it helps them to get ideas of how synchronicities work. For me, music is a big one. For you, maybe you'll get synchronicities when you're watching your favorite TV show, or maybe you'll overhear a conversation when you're sitting at a restaurant, or maybe you'll see a license plate, or there's just infinite number of ways that people can get signs. Maybe you'll say something and all of a sudden the lights will go out and the electricity will turn off, and you'll know that that's how the universe is speaking to you. I hope that these videos really help you to be more open to signs and synchronicities, to know that you can get answers to your questions, and that sometimes the universe just sends you these little gifts in synchronicities as little breadcrumbs into your life.